In the near future, Earth is slowly being destroyed by overpopulation and pollution. In search of a new place to live, scientists turn their attention to Mars and send unmanned probes containing algae that were bioengineered to grow on the planet. For 20 years, this algae works to build an atmosphere suitable for humans to breathe. However, one day, the oxygen levels start to drop suddenly. Desperate to find out why, all countries pool their resources to send the first manned mission to Mars. The ship, named Mars 1, is too massive to launch from the surface of the planet, so the crew shuttles to the high-orbit space station for a low-gravity launch to begin a 6-month trip. The crew consists of the best scientific minds: pilot and Commander Bowman, Chief Science Officer Chantilas, co-pilot Santen, mechanical systems engineer Gallagher, bioengineer Birchinall, and terraforming expert Pettengill. Accompanying them is Amy, a multitask robot that will serve as their Mars surface navigator. Amy is powered by a helium nuclear power cell that will keep it operational for a while. During the 6-month journey, the crew finds different ways to keep themselves occupied when they aren't working. Chantilas engages in philosophical discussions, expressing his need for answers to profound questions. Gallagher, on the other hand, flirts with Bowman and plays pranks, including a dangerous joke with Amy. As boredom sets in, Gallagher and Birchinall begin using the lab to make alcohol. Bowman initially reprimands them, but then joins in and the entire crew ends up drinking together. On day 182, the ship finally reaches Mars's orbit. The crew begins searching for HAB-1, the automated habitat where the probes were supposed to be growing the algae, when they are suddenly hit by a gamma burst. Commander Bowman sends the rest of the crew to a safe area while she monitors the system and they wait for the burst to pass. Moments later, they discover the main power unit is offline, so they will have to leave for Mars immediately and search for HAB-1 on foot. Once the crew is ready, Bowman attempts to activate the extension vehicle's auto-launch system, but it fails due to the lack of power, so she has to stay behind and do it manually. The vehicle has a rough launch and Santen struggles to land, forcing him to get rid of their landing gear and Amy. He does manage to release the airbags, but when they finally land on Mars, the vehicle rolls down a hill and sustains serious damage. Meanwhile, Bowman discovers that there are electrical fires in several sections of the ship, but the burst destroyed the automated fire extinguishers. She rushes to grab the manual extinguisher to put out the smallest fire, then she secures herself to the emergency evacuation unit before opening a hatch. This allows the vacuum to suck the fire out of the ship. She then works on restoring the main power unit. On Mars, the crew has to assist Chantilas in leaving the vehicle as he was injured during the landing. Without Amy, they have no way to navigate the planet and find HAB-1 without getting lost. Not to mention the radio and the science package are broken. Gallagher recalls having some panoramic photos the probes used to send and compares them with the terrain, which will help them find the right way. Chantilas contemplates his philosophical questions and comes to terms with his fate. He requests the crew to leave him there as his spleen is ruptured, causing serious internal bleeding. Even if HAB-1 has a medical unit, he won't make it in time. The crew bids their farewells, and Chantilas expresses his happiness at least getting to see Mars. Nearby, Amy emerges from the landing gear and deploys a drone to locate the crew. On the ship, Bowman successfully restores communications. However, as the guy's radio is not functioning, she is unable to contact them. She uses the scanners to locate HAB-1, only to receive distressing news. She has no choice but to call Houston and inform them that the crew won't survive. The crew begins walking under the scorching sun, and Birchinall is surprised to find no signs of the algae. Even if it all died, there should be some traces. Upon reaching HAB-1, they discover it's completely destroyed. The structures were designed to withstand extreme weather, so something significant must have happened. With no food, air, or water, the crew has no choice but to accept their fate. With only 16 minutes of oxygen left, they reminisce about the people they left at home. Santen decides to reflect near a cliff edge, mentioning that at least his piloting skills can't be blamed for this. Pettengill wants him to take responsibility regardless, leading to a fight that culminates in Pettengill hitting Santen, causing him to fall off the cliff. When Pettengill returns to the others, he falsely claims that Santen ended his own life. After a few minutes, their oxygen tanks run out, and Gallagher decides to open his helmet to take his last breath. To his shock, Gallagher discovers he can breathe just fine. Following his example, Pettengill and Birchinall confirm they can breathe as well, although they can't explain why. Meanwhile, Bowman receives a message from Houston telling her the ship's orbit will fail in 31 hours, but they'll help her take off before then. Bowman is skeptical because the ignition systems won't work. The crew searches Hab 1 for anything useful and finds a radio, but it's broken too. This makes Birchinall realize that the little rover Earth sent in '97 should have a radio as well, so they decide to look for it. It's 4 kilometers from there, and night is about to fall, so they decide to leave in the morning to avoid freezing. They use the remaining rocket fuel from HB-1 to start a fire, and its light allows Amy to finally find them. Gallagher checks on the robot and notices it's pretty damaged, but the navigational device still works, which means he should shut Amy down and take the device out before it breaks too. Amy hears this and reacts violently, pushing all the men away when they try to deactivate it. Birchinall tries to hit it with a pipe, but Amy cuts it into little pieces before hitting the man, breaking one of his ribs. Then Amy runs away, reuniting with its drone on the way. Gallagher explains to the others that Amy is using guerrilla tactics and will come back later to kill them one by one. He also discovers the robot jammed the transmitters to stop them from knowing where it is. In the morning, Bowman manages to fix the ignition systems with the guidance of Houston, but she tells them she'll try to save the crew before going back. The men wake up and playfully relieve themselves. They then set out to find the old rover in the name of humanity. Once they locate it, Gallagher adjusts the radio frequency without success in reaching Bowman. After 2 hours of failed attempts, Bowman is prepared to depart for Earth, and Gallagher is on the verge of discarding the radio. However, Houston detects the rover's frequency and establishes a connection with the ship. Finally able to communicate with Bowman, they share their story, and she promises to find a way to rescue them. Bowman later informs them about a 30-year-old Russian rock probe called Cosmos, that they must repair within 19 hours, their only chance before she has to return to Earth. She also mentions that she will be in communication blackout on the dark side while working on repairs. Before ending the call, Gallagher expresses his relief at hearing Bowman's voice again, triggering her memories of their almost kiss. Unaware that Amy is following them, the men set off towards the probe. Pettengill notices movement in the distance, but the others cannot see it and urge him to keep moving. Nearby, a group of alien insects also begins to move in the same direction. Later, Bowman asks Gallagher to remove his comm to speak privately, and informs him that the probe only has room for 2 people, apologizing before returning to her work. Gallagher keeps this information to himself, and focuses on helping Birchinall walk, as his broken rib weakens him. When night falls, a large ice storm forces the trio to seek shelter in an opening on a hill. Due to the storm, Amy struggles to get closer. The group discusses the limited time left to find the probe, and Gallagher finally admits that only 2 of them can make it back. He volunteers to stay behind, but Pettengill and Birchinall don't trust him. A few hours later, Bowman receives a message from Houston informing her that there's no way the crew survived the storm. After Gallagher and Birchinall fall asleep, Pettengill takes the radio and runs away to reach the probe first. Amy attacks and kills him. Birchinall and Gallagher witness this on the suit comms and retrieve the radio from Pettengill's body. As they do, Birchinall discovers algae in the area, and realizes that the nematodes have been eating it. Gallagher tries to contact Bowman, while Birchinall captures 2 of the nematodes. They realize that the nematodes have been producing oxygen by consuming the algae. As they continue walking, they find more algae. Birchinall starts bleeding from his mouth due to his broken rib, attracting the attention of the bugs, which attack him by eating through his suit. Accepting his fate, Birchinall gives his suit and the tube with the bugs to Gallagher for extra air and research purposes. He then waits for the insects to cover his body and lights the torch to bring them down with him. Bowman witnesses this from the ship and calls Gallagher to check on him. After explaining what happened, Gallagher admits he's ready to give up, but Bowman encourages him to continue, reminding him of the crew's sacrifices. Gallagher finds the probe and begins working on it with Bowman's guidance, but the probe's battery is dead, leaving Gallagher stranded. As he believes it's the end, Gallagher confesses his feelings for Bowman. Moved, Bowman prepares to return. Amy's drone finds Gallagher and he realizes he can use its batteries. He sets a trap using the probe, allowing Ami to get close before trapping and setting it on fire. Amy activates its self-destruct system, but Gallagher manages to remove the battery before it explodes. He then fixes the probe and launches it to go after Bowman, who is about to leave for Earth. The probe loses power midway, but Bowman jumps off the ship using a spacewalk rope to retrieve it. Due to the power shortage, the probe is also lacking oxygen, causing Gallagher to become unconscious by the time Bowman opens it. Bowman removes Gallagher's suit and performs CPR until he wakes up, expressing his happiness and asking her to take them home. Later, Houston sends a message after analyzing the insect data, and it turns out that everyone on Earth now considers Gallagher a hero. Gallagher also reveals that he brought a rock from Mars to give to Chantillus's granddaughter as a keepsake. Bowman notices Gallagher's growth and kisses him, realizing they have 6 months to get to know each other better before reaching Earth. Liked it? Then subscribe for more. Thank you.